Hello and welcome to Shite Talk, an Irish history podcast. Or should I say, welcome back to Shite Talk, because we've not been around for about 3-ish weeks. Maybe that's why the intro sounded weird. The hello, I've tried it about 10 times now, and I think I need to go back and listen to how I used to say it, because now it feels like a professional wrestler kind of, if you smell what the Shite Talk is cooking, which I guess technically is what this intro is for. I'm about to tell you what we're doing for the summer, and until the new season. I guess we didn't tell you we're taking a break for the summer, but in our defence, no one told us that Dublin was going to turn into Barcelona for about 3 weeks, and it's been like hot. People are walking around, having cans, seeing friends, hugging dogs. We've been down in Temple Bar, running the Penny Comedy Club. Temple Bar in this heat is like La Rambla. Everyone's just out shorts, everyone's speaking Spanish, smoking joints. It's great. But we're back to it now. We've had our little siesta in Spanish, but we're going to get back to doing the podcast, mainly on the Patreon. But what we're going to put out on the regular feed is an interview series. Today will be the first of that. We should have one per week for the next month and a half-ish, maybe 2 months. But in between that, we'll be putting out a couple of folklore episodes, because I've been doing a 3-4-parter on Fionn McCool. And then the regular stories will go up on the Patreon, because we've barely posted on that for the last month and a half. So to make it up for all of our fans there, and to get people to sign back up, and new people I guess as well, we'll be doing a cowboy special about this guy called Bertie Ahern, if you've ever heard of him. We've got a couple of new film clubs, part of that Fionn McCool story, his son Oisín, that's going to be on the Patreon. So we'll make it up to you. I think that's most of the things I have to tell you. That's the update for the summer. The new season will start in August, and outside of that, yeah, you know how to find us. Follow us online, all that good stuff. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Chat to you next week, I guess. Enjoy this episode with Will Fleury. He's a great MMA fighter and a lovely lad. Bye-bye, 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 Shafter.
Gather around now, you're in for a story. Old tales of lore, all in search of a glory. The history and mystery of lads, lasses and all. Discoveries and voyages, the rise and the fall.
Follow me now as we go back in time. We trace the steps of Irish lineage to find. Joseph from Carlo and Kevin the dog guide you through the ways of Shite Talk.
I was going to say Octagon, 10-sided cage.
I didn't realise that.
That's what I didn't really. I was looking it up.
That was the one bit of knowledge that I had. The octagon. Now it's a fucking dodecahedron.
Decagon?
Yeah,
Decagon?
yeah.
I actually thought it was kind of more circular than I don't
Okay.
know. Shows what I know. But the Bellator one was a circle anyway.
Because I think UFC have the octagon copyrighted. Like, just the idea of an 8-sided cage.
Really?
They own that.
Damn.
Yeah, so
Pentagon has their thing as well. There's not many gons left.
In South Africa, I fought in a hexagon. And then
Oh.
so it was a
Okay, yeah,
six-sided
6
one.
yeah.
That was grand as well. That
Was it the same size, like roughly inside the cage, or?
Yeah, you wouldn't notice. The only thing is the corners in the hexagon were more cornery. If you get
Oh,
like
okay.
Sure.
more,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's less
it's
circular.
rounded.
So
Yeah.
like the corner is a sharper angle, so you kind of can corner somebody a little bit easier.
In against it. Okay,
That was the
fair
only
enough.
thing I noticed.
Yeah, no one does a 4-sided one, do they?
That'd be square.
yeah.
Those would be corners
I
then.
think the WWE of that.
Yeah. Boxing. Well, yeah. Well, then they've got all the shapes covered, really. Get a triangle.
Someone
Going.
has a triangle, the boxing one of the influencer boxing things has a. Remember
it-
seeing
Oh, really?
Mike Perry fought in a triangle before. It's like, we've gone far enough now. Just go back to the circle.
I thought one of the Russian crowds had some where they're like, you know, one of these Czech boxing type of things, where it's like you do a round of this, then you do a round of something else. But I thought I saw one online and just one of those little clips where they were in a triangle. I was like, what the fuck?
I remember seeing one a few years ago that had like parkour, so it was like in like a children's playground, just it was just soft all over. Like, but then it was team MMA, so it's 4 lads running around like an obstacle course, just fighting inside of that. Like the Russians, pretty
They
fun.
love that shit.
Yeah.
Have you
That's
seen the
pretty
car
good.
fighting?
Yes, yeah.
Like, who came up with this as an idea?
But they're just fighting in a car.
It's like you start with your seatbelt on.
I have
like,
seen that,
they
yeah.
blow a fucking thing and you have to get along and beat the shit out of each other in a car. And it's like, two lads obviously had a scrap in a car one day, and we're like, right, we need to make this a sport.
What was it? They could fight inside of a phone booth, and then someone did a phone booth fight, and it was terrible. It's like, there's no room to.
There's no room to maneuver.
I think that's kind of a thing in Russia now as well. The phone booth thing.
They've got.
They're just doing everything with fighting, chess, boxing.
Sure, there was them who started the power slap shit.
The powers, yeah.
Oh yeah, that seems to be taken off as a big.
Well, the UFC have got behind it now.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it's doing. I think everyone was like, "Yeah, it'd be cool," and then after like one episode,
I was actually, myself and Kieran were chatting to one of the commissioners over in Vegas, and he Vegas has approved, like Nevada has approved power slap league or whatever, and he officiates some of the events. And we were like, how do lads warm up? Like, what's the cry, he was like, there's no defensive warming up at all.
Yeah.
He's like, but they do practice the slap and they do practice every, And then I was like, so is there any like defense at all? And he was like, if you're really good, you can time when it touches, because it has to like touch you before you can move.
Oh, so you can
you can lean with it.
Touches, you can go with it.
Yeah.
It's like, but they will penalise you if you go too early, and it just sounds ridiculous.
That
like,
is
waiting
insane.
for a slap in the face. Fuck that.
Especially for the money they're making as well. It's not.
Is it
enough.
not good?
It's no.
Well, we were asking him. We were like, "What's the average?" And he was saying, like, he gave me the average, and I was like, "Well, that's shit." And then I was like, "Well, what would the top guys make?" And he was like, "Well, if you win the league, you win like 100 grand." It's like, well,
okay.
I can see if you're a big, powerful lad and you kind of got confidence in your chin, and it's like, right, maybe it's worth it to you.
Yeah.
But otherwise, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Yeah. Because I heard someone released it there. I'm not sure what website, but I think it was like 2 and 2. So like 2,000 to show, 2,000 to win.
Yeah, that was roughly what he quoted as well.
It was like getting knocked out for $2,000. Like,
fuck that.
Or even have you seen the video?
Not even like get knocked out, but it's like you're taking slaps either way. You're not like, you can't go into this and not get slapped in the face.
That's what's going to happen.
There was one guy who, because they do like a coin toss or whatever to decide who goes first, and one guy was like, I don't know, he's been too much of a tactician. He's like, I'm going to go second. Like, what are you thinking? He just instantly got knocked out.
Let him slap. The Homer Simpson technique. Let him slap himself out first.
Yeah. But yeah, you're on about chess boxing there at the start. Like, that seems like a stupid. Because like, I can play chess, but if me and you were in a ring with chess boxing,
I've never
it's
seen
pointless.
I've watched a couple of them, and I've never seen the better chess player win.
No, it's always the because you need to. What was it, like a minute each?
I think so, and then it's like you have to make the move within a certain amount of time.
Yeah, but you just like fuck around for a minute.
If you're just defensive with your chess,
knock some guy
knock
out.
the shit out of people.
That's not a competition.
Be good at this.
Like, that'd be the. And even if I was sitting across from you and I've got a minute to beat you at chess, fucking, you're gonna.
I like how you assume I'm shit at chess.
Yeah, you never asked me if you ever played chess.
I play a lot of chess,
I'm
buddy.
just no.
Fuck you.
I just know I'm shit at fighting. I'm saying that's my only chance. All right, you assumed I was shit at fighting. I didn't get up with that. I'm just saying my only hope of getting out of this alive is to beat you at chess in about 60 seconds. You're checking the levels now.
Just getting everything there.
Yeah,
No one ever wants to talk at the same level as they will when it's actually when things are flowing.
Everyone tests off very quietly and then starts shouting a bit.
I'm going to talk like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's like, you never fucking asked me, do I play chess?
Oh,
right. So, Will, tell me if I get anything wrong, just keep it to yourself. So you're from Tipperary?
I am indeed.
What part?
Care. Yeah.
Is that Cahir?
Care.
it's care.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't care.
There you go.
Oh.
That's Paul Marsh is from there. He's a comedian / firefighter. I think he's from Care. It's a nice town, but yeah, the home of Hurling. Well, Thurles.
Yeah. But Care is a kind of more touristy town. Lovely castle and Swiss cottage, and it's just kind of like, it used to be fairly popular tourist town, and then obviously when things got really expensive and I don't know, cities kind of became the main thing, it sort of died a little bit of a death. It got bypassed on both sides as well.
Damn.
But then like COVID actually seemed to really rejuvenate the place.
Oh yeah.
So like there's a couple of like nice little coffee shops, and they've done like, so it's a beautiful town, and like there's a castle right in the middle of the town, and like I used to live in the square, so like really central.
Yeah.
And what they've done now is they've kind of like done out the back of the castle really well. Like there's a little, it's called the Inchfield, but they have like a little walkway along there, and then you can walk kind of down to the Swiss cottage, and you were always able to do this, but they've just made it a lot nicer now.
Well, I kind of want to go visit
and people
Care.
have moved back. So like a lot of my friends who like would have lived in the town when we were growing up,
Yeah.
and then we all moved away when we kind of got to our late teens, early 20s. a lot of them have moved back now over the last few years, and there kind of just seems to be a bit more life and a bit more young people.
That seems to be what happens. You leave in your 20s and then you come back in your early 30s to
Yeah,
settle down.
well, like there just seems to be a bit more life around there now. So it's cool. Like it's good to see.
One thing that always got me about Tipperary is that you're the only county that had the audacity to have 2 license plates. What the fuck?
So
you can't have that many cars.
You should know this. You should know this shit. It was due to it was like Thurles and Clonmel were so far away from each other, and because it was back in the day, it was like back in the fucking 1920s or whatever.
Sure, yeah, but
no, I think it was even pre that.
But Cork is white. Like Cork is whiter.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. It's the only like Dublin has definitely got more cars.
Okay. Say you're in fucking Templemore or like Roscrea.
Yeah.
And you've got to get down like to the other like Care.
Yeah.
That's well over an hour and a half drive.
Okay.
So like, if you were doing that with shitty cars or horse and carriage or anything like that, and people had to come to meet.
Yeah. Well, a horse and carriage shouldn't have a license.
That's a good point. Is it just because the guards are down in Templemore? And they had to take so many license plates, like just fucking split them up. There's too many. We're catching all the traffic around here.
You're onto something, maybe.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it wouldn't be like an MMA hotbed.
No, there's a gym in Clonmel now, SPG Clonmel, and there was like even Thurles always had a good kickboxing scene.
But when you were starting out, so when
very little, yeah,
because you played rugby when you were younger,
yeah.
And then when did you transition into MMA?
21. So 20, I kind of started toying around with things, and then 21, I was like full on. Okay, this is what I want to do.
Okay, and did you start out that down there, or you'd already moved to Dublin then?
No, I was in Cork.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like what ended up happening was I broke my foot playing sevens in New York. A fella kind of just like his knee fell onto my foot and it crushed the arch.
Shit.
And it was a bad enough injury. And then I was told the best thing I could do to heal the injury was boxing footwork to kind of like rehab the arch and like make the arch strong again. Because you're up on your toes all the time and moving around. So I started doing a little bit of that. And then the gym that I went to had a cage in it. And the guy got me into it, like, the fella who was coaching me was kind of like, sure, you're a big, strong lad.
Yeah.
He's like, you'll have a fight, won't you? And I was kind of like, fuck it, why not? So I had a boxing amateur, or it was white collar more than amateur even. And I love that. And then I saw the cage and I was like, do you plan on doing MMA? And they had a coach coming over called Justin Robbins who came over in, excuse me, I think that was like October 2010 he came. And that from then on in, it was kind of like we had a good buzz, we had a team there, and it was like we started training away proper, like, hard at it. And then he left about 6 months after that, and we had another guy called Jake Hecht who ended up in the UFC, who came over. He actually got signed while he was in Cork. So while he was training with us, he ended up getting signed. And that created a great buzz. And like,
so there's a nice scene in Cork there.
Yeah, and like even like we were all amateur at the time, but like as amateurs we were all doing pretty well.
So your amateur fights, you started that when you were in Cork?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was Battle Zone back then, or was that
yeah. So I think my first fight was like MMA Clinic Amateur Fight Night, which was they were like a sister show with Battle Zone, because Stuart, the guy who owned my gym, and Andy Ryan kind of got on very well.
Gotcha.
So I think we used the Battle Zone cage, and it was basically a Battle Zone show just under a different name. And that was my first amateur fight, and then the next 3 were Battle Zone shows, and then then I fought over in England once or twice, and then Ryocean. I fought on Ryocean a lot of times at amateur as well.
Right.
But back then, like, see now, like you see lads with like 20, 30 amateur fights. It was kind of like longer gaps between things back then. So like in the last couple of years, the amateur scene's taken off a little bit, where like it's fairly easy to fight regularly. You could have 6, 7, 8 fights a year as an amateur. Whereas when we were amateur, it was kind of like probably same as pro. Well, maybe a little bit more, where you fight maybe 3 or 4 times a year. So it was kind of harder to get things like.
Yeah, because I guess now you can even go to the amateur tournaments and have like 3 or 4 fights.
Yeah. So like you can get a good bit more experience in a shorter space of time. And also like, look, what they're learning is way, way more like practical than what we learned. Like what we started learning was bollocks. Like, it was like, it wasn't terrible shit, but it made like, if you look back on it now, you're kind of like, oh,
the sport's come on a long way.
Yeah.
In the space of 10 years, you reckon it's just gone exponentially?
Yeah, and we'll continue to do as well. Even like what we're learning now in 10 years' time will be slightly outdated.
Yeah.
Like, and like the other side of it is like, where will it end? Because it's like, movement is unlimited. So fucking people are always going to be expanding this and going and going and going. And like,
someone will eventually get the Hadouken.
That'll be the end of it.
Maybe chi is a real thing, and you know somebody will eventually learn how to channel it.
Yeah.
But your granddad was a boxer,
He was, yeah.
and he hurled for Offaly as well.
Yeah.
So sporting family in general.
Yeah, and both grandfathers actually hurled for Offaly.
Jesus.
Yeah. Even though my mother was technically North Tip, I think her grandfather lived inside Offaly for long enough that they allowed him to just hurl with Offaly.
They were desperate.
Was he
Yeah,
just not
exactly.
good enough to play for Tiff?
Probably,
Is that-
yeah. But that wouldn't have been talked about too much when I was younger. Like, as in, that wasn't like a thing.
Yeah.
But like, I always knew that a grandfather was a boxer, and it was kind of only as I like started to fucking get more and more into this that I found out more and more about him, and I was like, oh shit, he was a really legit fucking, like, he was supposed to have gone down to he went to some like athletics meet down in like Mitchellstown or somewhere, and there was a guy doing the shot put who'd like, you know, I think he was the Irish record holder shot put, and he learned it there and then beat your man at it. So it's kind of like, you know, and he always had one of these names, like even like people who wouldn't know me well but would know my family would often come up to me and be like, oh, Bill Fleury, jeez, Bill Fleury was some man, like, and all this type of thing. So it's kind of just from getting into this that I found out more about him, and I was like, fuck, he does sound like legit.
I'd say that shot put guy must be sickened though. Like Bill Fleury
I often
walked.
wonder though how these stories get, like, you know, there's a lot of Chinese whispers here.
Well,
as well,
sure.
you know.
But a fella
He
walks
learned it,
from
but
Offaly.
He punched him. Right
He decked him. Then your man tried to throw it and couldn't. Then he beat him.
If I could just show a shot put with a broken arm.
But so in those early days then, so you're fighting in Ireland, a bit in the UK, and then, so just a good, this isn't in any order, but you've fought plenty across the world. We'll get into the latest fight in Vegas a little bit after, but you fought in Oklahoma. You've obviously you won the World Championship in Abu Dhabi, the UAE.
The title,
Yeah. Bulgaria, Germany, Italy, Jordan. Jordan was one of your earlier fights. What was that like, heading out there, going from like fighting around locally, like in Ireland, to heading out to...
So South Africa was the first big foreign one. I think it was the end of 2017. I did a reality show down in South Africa, and that was kind of the first like real like, wow, shit, I'm getting to travel properly with this. And it was cool because like South Africa's a mad country, and we were 10 weeks down there, everything paid for, living in this mansion. You know, you put like your fucking food on a list and you wake up in the morning and it's there.
Was that like the Ultimate Fighter style
Basically,
of House of...
And we were the first season they did, so they kind of went up on the budget. And they're very like, South Africa's dirt cheap when you're making decent money. As in, like, if you're one of the people who's wealthy over there, you're proper wealthy.
Would you have a following over in South Africa?
A little bit, yeah. Like, even like still I get messages being like, oh man, because they obviously rerun the show down there the odd time. It's on BBC, it's like SABC. And then like I'll get a bunch of I can tell, like, nobody tells me when it's being rerun, but I basically get a load of message requests on Instagram like, mate, you got dicked over, what the fuck, like blah blah.
This happened years ago. It's fucking outrage.
But like, to be honest, even still, I'm like, those fucking cunts, like, because like what happened basically was I got picked first. Like, so they brought down like 10 undefeated middleweights, went down to South Africa, and we did like a little tryout session, and the two coaches were watching. And they got like, you know, they flipped for first pick, and Penny got first pick, and he picked me because I was like fucking, it was like I was shocked, to be honest, because like in the gym here I'd be doing pretty well a lot of the time, but like there was lads who were better than me, whereas when I went down there it was just like, oh, I'm the best dude here by far. And I got picked first, and I was kind of like odds on favourite to win the thing, and then I ended up going back. It was kind of a long story, but like a lad, they thought a fella had AIDS for a week or two, but he ended up not having AIDS. And then a different guy got a staph infection. So what happened was there was fights falling in and out in the earlier rounds, but because I got picked first, I was into one of the later rounds. Like I was in like the quarterfinals straight away, if you want to say. But I ended up going back and fighting a guy who I didn't have to, just to get paid a little bit extra. And I beat that lad, and then the other fella who I was going to fight the next round ended up being injured. So then I was like into the semis anyway. And I fought an Australian lad in the semis. Now he was probably the other kind of challenge there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the semi was going to be the final, if you get me. But I'd like worked out. I was kind of like, we were on separate teams, but I'd done the little bit of a session with him. He's good at certain shit, but I know what to get. Like,
sure.
So I managed to get him down. I was like, had him mounted, landed a couple of elbows from mount, and then he managed to bridge me off, and I shot back in on him. And this was all within like a minute and a half of the fight starting. And when I shot back in on him, he elbowed me in the back of the head like 14 times.
Oh.
And my head was like buried.
I have seen this video.
Yeah.
That's like a thing that could end a man's career, or like it could change your life. Like
It was more the lack of opportunity afterwards, and the bitterness that created. And even like, I didn't see this is the thing, they kind of tried to lie to me about what happened. Because even like, it's mad. When I went back over to my corner, I was like, what the fuck happened? Because I'd like, it was like a 10-second, just like, oh shit, that's gone. And they were like, relax, just catch your breath. Because it was like, the fight was going to continue as far as I was concerned. Everyone thought the fight was going to continue. And I could see that he was getting a bollocking. And then I could feel the blood dripping down the back of my neck. And I was like, Because at first I thought I spiked him. That I had done something wrong.
Right.
That I'd like taken him down and like thrown him onto his head or something like that.
Yeah.
But then I was like looking at the body language of the two of them, and I could feel the blood on the back of my head, and I was like, this is him who's done something wrong. And anyway, I could see that he was knackered. So like, there's footage of this. Ben Kiley probably has the footage. Actually, I think they sent him the whole thing. And I'm trying to get it restarted. I'm like, come on, let's just go. Now, looking at the footage, my balance isn't right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
probably, the right decision was stopping the fight and calling it a no contest. And it was never called anything other than a no contest, because a lot of people think it was like, oh, they gave him the win and then he got disqualified after. No, it was always only a no contest, and it should have been a straight up fucking DQ. Like, you couldn't do anything. It's like literally walking in and trying to gouge somebody's eye out would be the exact same fucking thing. It's like, you've blatantly fouled fucking several times. The referee has tried to stop you fouling in the middle of that. The ref grabs his hands and pulls his hand away at one stage, and he keeps elbowing with the other elbow
Jesus Christ.
into like the crevice of the back of your fucking neck, which is like,
soft
that's the place you obviously don't fucking hit. Like, anyway, like,
because I've heard of like rabbit punches, but 14 rabbit elbows is
and like technically 12 to 6 elbows as well, even though I think that's a bullshit rule. So
you don't want to be on the end of it.
But the funny thing is, I didn't see what had happened for a day and a half. So like, I didn't really know what the fuck had gone on. I just knew the back of my head was all cut up, and a few of the boys were like, oh, he elbowed you in the back of the head, but some of them looked like they were the side of the head, this sort of shit. But I could feel where all the marks were.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're all directly in the back of my
aren't
head.
the side of anything.
Yeah. So when I eventually did see the footage, I was like, holy fuck, this is a lot worse than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because I felt pretty normal. Like, it was weird. I just had that 10-second lapse in memory. I got back. Obviously, my balance was a bit sketchy. Your adrenaline's through the roof because, like, it was a big fight.
Yeah.
But I did feel like, I'm pretty good. And even the next day, I went doing hill sprints, which is fucking stupid. If I'd seen what happened, I wouldn't have. And then I won this competition of holding a mattress over my fucking head as well. Like, it was bizarre. A couple of days. Yeah.
You ready for the mattress lift? Well, this is a pure layman question.
No, Will, we told you to lie down.
But the mattress contest is starting.
2 hours I've been holding.
What is it like? It must be surreal to watch footage of yourself like getting
the shit
kicked out of you. Like,
that was really just like, holy shit, that's what happened. And then I managed to, because like, it was fair fight, it was like DFC tried to hide that from me, but one of the cameramen who was recording the show just had the footage of it, and he uploaded it and put it on his laptop. But he wouldn't let me have it. So I just kind of sneakily recorded it on my phone. So that's the only reason that any of it ever got out.
Yeah.
And then when I did that, like, what I should have done was put it out straight away and like fucking made a huge deal of it. But I was kind of like, right, I'm going to use this when I need to, which was a bit silly because all I really got out of it was a contract where they didn't actually fucking pay me. So I went back down after this and fought again. That was in like October of that year. I went back and fought in December of that year in like one of their...
It's not a long layoff.
No, but like I to be honest, I felt like I could beat the shit out of any of them. I felt like, so it wasn't like, a massive fight.
Yeah.
And I went down and I knocked a lad out in the second round, but I ended up getting paid my show up money, but never my win money or the bonus for finishing them. So they screwed me that way as well. So like, those lads, absolute cunts.
You're going to be getting a message from me as a South African man, be like, they fucked you over. They fucked you.
Yeah. Because even like a lot of the people sending me those messages don't know the full extent of it. They also didn't pay me in the end.
Jesus.
Yeah. Scumbags.
So what was that? Was that EFC or was
Extreme Fighting Championship?
That's it. Say the name.
Scumbags. Scumbags. Look, here's the thing. If you're doing this for money, like, and I get like, you gotta get fucking paid and you gotta make a living out of this shit, but like, really, it's kind of more the buzz and the challenge of doing it. So it's like, obviously I want to fucking be financially successful long term, and I want to be able to do things with the rest of my life, and that's by far the big, like, you know, that's big.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like, if you didn't get into this because you love doing it, you're in the wrong fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous sport to be in if you're not.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
part of me just loves the fucking buzz of like, oh, you're gonna fight that guy. You know, it's like the challenge, and they're like, oh, you're kind of deep down, you're shitting it, but at the end of the day, you could fucking end this. Like, you know, you could do this. Like, you know, so it's that buzz. That's the thing. It's like that Rocky fucking story inside your heart that kind of keeps you going. It's like, all right, get in there and get this fucking done, you know?
So I'm wearing the Rocky t-shirt because I realised I was meant to put the gloves down here as well to change it up for every guest that comes in. But then I realised I was going to wear some form of MMA shirt, and then I was looking through it. I was like, I think every single one of my MMA shirts, and not through like my own choice, they've all been McGregor's opponents. I had a Khabib shirt from like years before. A friend got me a Dustin Poirier one. I've always been a big fan of him, and I was going through everything. I was like, I can't do it in front of another SPG man. I'm not going to sit down.
Don't give a fuck.
But and then so we'll jump forward a little bit. Then you went into Bellator.
Yeah.
And that's like
Was it after South Africa? It was Jordan then.
Yeah.
You were gonna,
then I signed with Brave, and first fight I got with them was in Jordan. And that was cool. That was a really interesting experience as well.
Sure, yeah.
And I actually ended up fighting the same fella who I beat for the title in Abu Dhabi that night. So I fought that guy twice and beat him both times because he was just the champ in Abu Dhabi anyway. And I managed.
It must have given you some confidence going into that fight, having known you.
It was kind of weird though, because it was nearly like after you won it, it's cool. I won that belt, and it was like great buzz, and it was the first ever title I've won. But like, I won one in amateur as well, but the first ever like proper. And I'm the first Irish guy to win UAE Warriors title, which is great. But there is that thing of like, she already beat that guy. It doesn't feel like the sense of achievement isn't as big, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you've already done this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There was a little bit of that afterwards, like,
Is there no one else?
You won every round of that fight as well.
Yeah.
50, 40.
Yeah, smash him, yeah.
So you didn't seem to lighten up as you were actually fighting him. It didn't look like you needed much more motivation.
Yeah.
But so then you went into Bellator. Did you fight in the States at all with them, or was it all?
I did.
You did as well, and European cards, because I know you were in Italy with them, was it?
Yeah. So that was my first fight in Rome, and I got knocked out in that fight, which fucking. So I think they brought me in as like, you're going to be our second James Gallagher kind of a thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And now look, I wouldn't have ever been like the same kind of personality, or like, you know, the same kind of. I wouldn't have given myself as much of a push on social media as the likes. It was never like, my thing was like, I love fighting, let me just fight.
Yeah.
But when I like, as soon as I lost that fight, I think they were just like, right, we have this lad on a 6-fight contract. Fuck's sake. That was the vibe I got off them anyway.
Okay, yeah.
So then it was just about like, fuck it, whatever. So I felt like after that fight, it didn't really matter if I won or like.
Because you won 4 of the next 5, didn't you?
Yeah.
And still got let go. And got let go. Was at the same time Kiefer Crosby and the lads were? Because I know Bellator.
It was actually a little bit after all of that, I think, because I was told I was going to fight Fabian Edwards, and that, you know, because it made sense. He had just lost the last fight in Milan, and I'd won against Ken Kauppinen, and they were kind of building Kent as a prospect, and I came out and smashed him.
And Fabian Edwards, for Kev and any listeners who don't know, that's UFC champ Leon Edwards' brother.
Yeah.
No, that clears it up for me. Thank you.
He'd be a decent name in England. He's fighting Musasi in the main event in Paris now.
Yeah.
And like, they've given him a couple of very big fights recently. And in fairness, like, he's a decent fighter, but I've always felt like I have his number. But look, fuck it, it hasn't ended up happening. So that was the shit buzz.
Yeah.
But basically, they kept me on for a while longer, I think, because they were toying with the idea of doing that fight. And I was told I was being re-signed, and then about March of 2021, they were like, oh no, we're not. And like, the steep, like, I was nearly happy, well, not happy, but like, I was kind of excited about the fact that, okay, now I can fight wherever I want to. Now I'll get like loads of fights around Europe. You know, I can go and fight 4 or 5 times this year. And then because of COVID, there was just nothing happening. So that was a very kind of rough period. Like, it's funny, it was a rough period, but like, I also felt like I got a hell of a lot better during that period, because all I was doing was going into the gym training every morning. And because it was kind of more focused training, it was more skills based and less like hard rounds. It was kind of more just like playful and like drilling a lot. And like, I learned a shitload during that period, and I kind of like, I feel like that stood to me and made me a better martial artist overall. But financially, it was a fucking rough one. Like,
And how many times did you get to fight for Bellator in Ireland?
Three.
Yeah, because I got back from the States and I got to go to when Gallagher was fighting. Was it Patchy Mix? Or
that would have been November 2021.
Yeah, because I
would
was
have already been gone at that.
You were already
stage.
gone by then. Yeah, because I saw, and then there was two things from that night. There was that like Gallagher's walkout. Because he put out, he came out to Freed from Desire. That's basically just a cheat code. If you want, if you want a load of lads who love fighting and they're already drinking, and you play that, and the whole place erupted. I think it was like there was probably 2 minutes of people singing along before he even got near the stage to walk down. And then Kieran Clark as well. I guess that he got the comeback win, the submission, and that he's from Drogheda. Your parts.
He got. I remember the Americans butchered his name.
Syrian
Clark, that was it. Yeah, Syrian. Yeah, it was a big moment.
They've gotten it finally, though. I think somebody's had a word and they've corrected it.
Okay.
But I remember that for the first few fights of his.
Syrian.
Do any commentators ever have an issue with your name?
Not too bad. It's not like, technically it's Fleury, and they all say Fleury.
Fleury.
Fuck, like it's close enough. Like.
You're Irish. You're lucky it's not Mick Fleury.
Yeah. Well, like even the PFL lads, they were fucking in my fight over in Cardiff. They were like, "Oh, a good flurry from Fleury," and then Randy Couture was like, "Maybe it's a Mick Fleury because he's Irish," and it's just like,
you couldn't help yourself.
Because in the fight just gone, they'd said a flurry as well, and I don't think he'd realised because he'd said a good flurry there from, and he could hear a little pause. I have to finish it now.
Yeah.
But I guess so. Like, do you feel then that post Bellator, like you were saying, that the chance to train and learn and improve like that, but then also you would have won the UAE title after that, so first like professional championship, because I guess if you had been signed on long term into Bellator, you wouldn't have had the opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's like
so it ended up like, look, what I felt like would happened. It just took longer to happen.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not saying I was fucking delighted to be let go, but I was like, okay, there's big opportunities out there because I know I'm fucking legit and I know I can get something out of this. But when the first 6 months of that period were like, whoa, nobody's getting back to me, and like anybody who is getting back to me is like, look, we're not doing anything because of COVID. There's no show, like, I can't guarantee anything.
Did you just go back to working at all during that time? Or?
No. So like I did work as a security guard, or like I did bouncing in Berlin inside town for a while, which was a great place to work actually.
It's good training right there.
Once that got closed down, I kind of stopped doing the security work. And then just with COVID and everything, I didn't bother anyway. And I actually, like a muppet, I didn't take the $350 a week because I earned pretty decent money in 2020. And I kind of was like, oh, well, isn't that like cheating? Because like I actually got paid more in 2020 than I ever got paid before. So I was like, well, fucking great. I'm doing okay anyway. And then 2021 came along. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Can we backdate that?
Yeah. Can I take the $350 for the last 2 years?
Yeah.
And then so going into the PFL, this is your first time fighting in Vegas? So what's that experience like? The fight capital of the world?
Yeah, it was really cool. Like it was always a dream. So like I went to Vegas 14 years ago just on a J1, and we ended up on the piss there for a few days. And during that period of time, I was like, we stayed in MGM, and I wasn't even like, this was the summer before I started to fight at all, like doing anything. And I was looking down at that venue being like, fuck, it'll be class to fight in there. Now, I didn't fight in the MGM, but I get to fight in Vegas in the end, and I will again, I hope and assume. But like, yeah, it was a very, like, remembering that and then coming back to Vegas and being like, now you're actually fucking fighting here was very, very cool. And yeah, just getting to like be there and like even training Extreme Couture that week, and it was cool. It was really like, you see that like, okay, this is where this all happens. Because even like I met my manager after the fight, we went for fucking sushi the next day and whatever, and they're like, it was him, Eric Nixick, and like, my corner Kieran, and we were just like, listen, like they were chatting about Francis' next fight and what's going to happen for him and blah blah. And you're like, yeah, this is where everything happens. Like this is where all these deals are done. Like we're at the center of the fight world here.
Well, so you went over the week before. And then you got a new corner team when you were over there.
Yeah,
Eric Nixick. You talked to him, and then he had it like that day after your fight. You had to go to his kids' football game.
He went before.
Before, so he just went. Okay, so straight from his
he
kids'
came,
football game,
and he's the coach.
and he's the coach.
He's the coach of the kids' team as well.
Oh,
I said, like, do you know what I mean? I said, like, so he coached both of us that day. So, but man, really cool guy. Like, just really genuine, down to earth, like no bullshit kind of guy, and like.
And to come in with a week having not known you as well,
and even like the amount of time he gave me that week, and considering how busy he is otherwise as well, because like, you know, he was doing it like the day I texted him just being like, oh look, if you can do any pads at any stage, just let me know. And he got back to me with like different time slots. He was like, I'm free here, I'm free here, I'm free here, I'm free here, which one suits you? And I was like, oh fucking I'll take that. He was like, yeah, great. And then like half an hour before that, he was like, oh, I might have something, like it's come up, like this other thing has come up, but I'll be there half an hour late if that's where. And then he texted me being like, no, don't worry, I'm going to be on time. It's like, how fucking considerate is this dude? Like a lot of people that just show up half an hour late and not give a fuck, and like giving me that much time, barely knowing me, and like not wanting anything in return except me to go in and do my best was fucking class. So really cool human being, man. Really cool.
And did his football team win?
Yeah.
Okay.
He came in with like videos of his kid like running rings around a load of lads. It was class.
That's amazing.
And I was like, you definitely have him doing a bit of sprint around. He was like, oh yeah, on the track twice a week. It's like, well, it shows like his kid's an animal. Like
you were saying there before we started that you ended up doing some sparring with some position work with Sean Strickland.
Yeah, it wasn't like full sparring or anything.
Yeah, because that is he's known as a man who likes to spar hard.
Yeah, well, like
you went over and didn't tell him that you were fighting that weekend.
Yeah. Well, it's just the way it worked out. Like, but it wasn't nothing too crazy. But we were going like with the shit that we were doing. We were going a little bit, not mad, but we were getting a good buzz off each other, like, you know. And then during that session, he found out I was fighting that like during the week or later that week, and he started to like kind of take it a lot easier. And you know, I just thought like that was pretty mature. And then at the end of the session, we got chatting, and I was like, look, I'm fighting Jocko. You fought him 3 fights ago or whatever. And he was like, oh, cool. So he showed me some shit of like cutting him off and doing other things, shit that I didn't really apply during the fight at all, but it was still very cool of him to show me all that. And just to like, again, the biggest thing that fucking caught me was like very down to earth, very normal, and very like invested in me winning, even though barely fucking knew me. And like, look, obviously we got on pretty well that day, but it was cool of like how much of a shit everyone seemed to give, even though you're just there for a couple of days. Like, so that was, and then, you know, I went back and I was getting changed, and I was like, here, fuck it, I'm gonna ask the boys to corner me there. Like, so I went back over and was like, would you be up for corner me? And they were like, fuck yeah, sounds good. So nice. And then all week they were just really fucking cool. So
did they have any other fighters on the card, or
nope?
So they went specific.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was really cool. And even like Strickland, so like the commission, because like I've kind of got like dodgy ankles, so I tape my ankles most fights. And I was texting or not texting, I was emailing Nevada about this, the commission over there. And there was a good bit of like, what are you allowed? Because I know that they're by far the strictest commission. Like, you saw the John Jones thing with the tape.
Yeah.
You know, and like nobody else would give a fuck. You know, most places, like once you show them the tape and they're like, okay, fine. Yeah,
because he tapes his toes because he'd broke them previously in that Chael Sonnen fight, and they made him take it off.
Yeah, or they tried to, and then he kind of just adjusted it, and they allowed it to be some bit taped anyway. Whereas with me, I was trying to find out ahead of time what the crack was with the taping. So they were like, they sent me all the regulations, and then I bought the tape that they want, and you know, it has to be a certain width and a certain fucking, you know, it can't be the Kineso tape or any of that shit. So basically I got all the right shit, and I like strapped it up in front of him and was like, all good. Commissioner's looking at it, he's like, yeah, all good. And he's like, now where's your neoprene sleeve? I was like, how do you mean? And he was like, you know, you have to cover any taping with a sleeve, and it has to be like not angular and not this, not that. I was like, fuck, I don't have any of that. Nobody sent me that. Like, and Strickland then was like, but ye give those to us. Because he'd obviously, and he was like, no, the UFC give those to us and we give them to ye. And he was like, the PFL don't do that. So it was like an hour before the fight at this stage. And if I don't have them taped, it's significantly different. So I was like, fuck. And it was kind of a little bit like, ooh, this could be a hairy one.
What do you do? Just run out to an Elvery's and try and...
So Fair Fox and Strickland, man, he was just like, right. And he like Googled, he was like, okay, we're on the strip in Vegas. So it's kind of awkward because there isn't really like normal places around there. It's all casinos.
Yeah.
And he had parked obviously in the venue, and he was like, right, I'm going to drive out to a Walmart and I'll get some shit. So he came back about 20 minutes before the fight, was like, you owe me a $14 cheeseburger, motherfucker. And just like handed me the thing. And in fairness, he was fucking smart because he bought 2 of them. and the commission wouldn't allow the first set that he bought, and the second set were just kind of like more flimsy, kind of more like just like a sock nearly.
Yeah.
And they allowed those, thank fuck.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
fair fucks to
Yeah,
them.
fair
That's
play.
what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
as in,
fuck,
like,
imagine coming back with
I owe
one.
him a $14 cheeseburger now, you know. So.
Did you get him that cheeseburger?
No, not yet.
Oh, come on.
I was going to try and buy him pints that night, but he's flying the next morning.
Oh,
He's gone off to Miami to corner Chris Curtis. So I'll get him back, don't worry.
nice, nice. And so did you manage to have some pints afterwards? In 14 years, you said, since, or something like that, since your J1 in Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. It was plenty of pints that night. I was fucked that night, though. It was actually the next day. So I had a few beers that night, but I was just knackered. Like,
Yeah.
it was a tough enough fight. I was very kind of grueling sort of fight. So, like, I felt like I'd be up for going out. And then once we had a couple of pints, I was just like, can we just go to bed? So I was in bed by about 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then got
Trying to lift the mattress again.
yeah. 2.5 hours. I did it. But no, then the next morning just got up and went drinking, and yeah, had a good night that night as well. So that was a bit of crack. And after that, I was kind of like, right, now it's time to rein it in a little bit.
Nice.
But yeah, got a little bit wild for a while.
Oh man, congrats! It was awesome.
Cheers.
But yeah, I think that's. Is there anything else you want to plug then?
Not really. I have 2 sponsors, Ross Nutrition and Flow Recovery, and they've both been great to me over the years, and just want to thank the 2 of them. And other than that, nah, fuck all.
Did you used to be sponsored by Mattress Mick?
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah. He gets great fucking play out of that. Like,
That's how you were lifting those mattresses.
Yeah,
Yeah, fucking,
exactly.
come on then.
He was giving you
Actually,
lighter
after,
mattresses.
It was, like, so I won that mattress competition, and like the fellow who was managing me at the time was just like, mattresses.
Where have I heard that name before?
And then he put me in contact with Mattress Mick, and we went out, we did like a photo shoot. There was some fucking hilarious photos. out of it.
Yeah.
And then he came to the fights when I beat Sean Taylor in the Tree Arena. So I beat this Scottish guy in the Tree Arena, and he came like backstage. And it was while I was doing a bunch of media. So there was a load of like media got photos of me and him together. And it was on like the Star and a couple of other things the next day. So that was hilarious.
Who is this mattress Mick?
But then apparently he was kind of like, apparently he didn't enjoy that. Or I don't know, that's because like shortly afterwards then he was like, oh, I don't think I want to be part of this. Maybe he just saw all the fights and was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This isn't the image that we're trying to project
Yeah,
here
yeah.
at Mattress
We
Mick.
want comfort. you know?
Yeah. We want the dodgy warehouse full of stained mattresses, not whatever this is.
Yeah, instead of someone been taken out on a stretcher, I want a mattress.
Yeah.
Why can't they take them out on a mattress? I don't understand.
But no, I think that's everything from us then.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been great having you on.
Cheers. Thanks,
Yeah,
very
it
much.
was a
Thanks
pleasure.
for having me.